drums. So I started playing drums, and then I was like, because I could always dance. Dance was something that I could always do, but I was tapping into things that I wanted as a challenge. So then junior year, I tried out for the team, and I made the team. And then my senior year, I became captain.
Okay.
So then my senior year, that's when we were coming back from like a ballad of bands or something from the band. There were these flyers all over the ground. And so I picked up one in 20th Century Fox Drumline. I was like, oh, this is a movie flyer. And I was like, oh, they got dance auditions. So on the day of auditions, my instructor was supposed to take me, but she had to cancel. She had to get some kind of boxes out of storage or whatever. So I was actually late getting, because my mama said, come on, let's go. So I was late turning in my stuff, submitted my, the application for it, and I bumped into Don Roberts, and he said, look, just go learn the routine. So by the time I got in the room, everyone was lined up with their numbers on the side, and you could no longer practice the choreography when you were standing in line. So I was the last, like you said, we were the last ones. And as the line was moving, I was learning the choreography as the line was moving. So I had to pick up on whatever it is that I caught from in the line. And I guess I picked up a good amount of it.
Yeah.
So yeah, I was able to move on around too. And that's all she wrote with that one. So
and so how did it feel to see yourself on the big screen? And I went to the movies with a lot of the people that were in the band for the movie and stuff like that. So how was it while you were there? Just, being that age, because a lot of these dancers don't really understand that even at a young age, you can do things on a professional level and get paid for it.
I was the only high school dancer, really, because they use Morris Brown's girls, Bubbling Brown Sugar, and they used the Atlanta A&T girls, and I was the only high school dancer. So at the time I was 17, and it felt surreal. I was just thinking, oh, this is just practice. I didn't really grasp the concept that this was like a big deal.
Right.
And, so I was just going with the flow. I, stayed quiet because, of course, I didn't want to come off as, oh, childish or anything like that. You know what I'm saying? I just sat, right. So I just sat around and I soaked in a lot of stuff, but I made sure I had my stuff together. I made sure I had my choreography. I didn't make many mistakes, because I didn't want to be the reason why we had to redo things and stuff like that. So sure that I carried my own weight with that. And it wasn't until I got to Jackson State that the movie actually came out. So I went through my freshman year all the way to the end of season, and the premiere came out in December. So I was finished my freshman year and go home for the premiere to see it. So by the time I got back home, a lot of people were going to got back to Mississippi.
Okay.
A lot of people were going to see it, and that's when it was like, oh, you. And so it was, yeah, that was me. I didn't realize, but yeah, that was me. That's me.
So at
But
that point, were you already a J-Sette? Were you already on the dance team, or was that like something that you had always aspired to do once you started dancing? Like what was that transition from high school to college?
so my high school captain, Maya, she actually went down to Jackson State, and she brought back one of her audition tapes. Now, with auditions, you couldn't have no videotape in there. So somebody snuck one, recorded it. So when she brought that back, and I saw how difficult that routine was, I was like, "Ooh, I want to do that." And then yeah, Revan actually did the pregame for one of Jackson State's games when they played North Carolina A&T as a classic or something like that. It was at the Dome, and they did that same routine on the field. So I was like,
and
I
you knew
want
the
to go there.
dance. Okay.
I want there. So yeah, with Drumline, that was my senior year. I hadn't even auditioned for JSette yet. Filming stopped around February-ish.
Mm.
Audition that was in April.
Okay.
So that's when my senior year in April.
So you
Mhm.
auditioned for the J-Sets your senior year in high school at the end of the school year. So did you have
Uh-huh.
to go down there for that?
Yes, I did. And that was my first time going to Mississippi.
Were there
So
other
it was a,
girls? Were there other girls that had come for it as well?
oh yeah. Well, I don't know from Atlanta, but yeah, our audition numbers was like 115. There was a whole bunch of girls that tried out my freshman year and they only picked six. And
Okay, they
I
already
think
had the vets and stuff like that. So you're only filling in spots, basically.
they
Wow.
picked.
Yes. Okay. So as we, just transition into this, I do always like to add the component of the educational side of it because sometimes a lot of these dancers going from high school to college, they get caught up on the dance team. You have to pick a major, ladies. Okay. You have to find something that you want to do with your life. And dance can
Yeah.
be it. Dance can truly be it. But what was your major and how has it helped you in what you do with your passion of dance?
My major was psychology for undergrad, and yes, of course, education is always first. That's what you're there
Mhm,
for, and the
mhm.
curricular activity that you have the opportunity to do. But yes, and we had to have keep a great GPA to be able to audition for the team.
Right.
We had to had to check grades every semester and things like that because if they weren't up to par, you could not perform.
Okay.
So yes, education was number one. Um, and yeah, and it wasn't easy coming in my freshman year because I mean you were thinking that, oh, I balanced high school and dance and all
Mhm.
this, but it's really different when you become part of a dance team in college because you're more so you're in control of you.
Right.
You make schedule, you have your own timing. No one is going to tell you when to go and do this and that. You have to make sure that your time management skills are engaged when it comes to
Yeah.
you going to school and being in extracurricular activities because back in the day, our practice started at 5:30 and it didn't end until you got it right.
Right. For real.
Yeah.
And you better have them grades and you better be on your leg at the same time. And it's funny because I always say high school is about being smart, college is about being responsible. Because if you're responsible, you don't have to necessarily be smart. All you have to do is do the work. And you do the work. And I think that your extracurricular activities in college, just like in high school, force you to have to focus because you can't be a cheerleader. You can't be on a dance team. At FAM, we have all these modeling troops and all this other kind of stuff. You can't be on campus anything without maintaining your grades. And so I think that's really important. So when you were at Jackson State, did you meet Diana then? How did this connection or relationship transition into the Atlanta Dancing Dolls?
Okay, so the Dancin Dolls always did the homecoming parade, and they were always kind of lined up near us.
Mm.
And so it was my freshman or my sophomore year that they were a lot closer so that I could see them.
Oh, you
And
saw them way back then.
yes,
Oh,
I
okay.
started Dolls in 2008.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Yeah, so yes, I was working with the Jackson Dolls first. So
Okay.
uh, some of the major faces like that were on the television. Kayla,
Mm.
I remember when she was a tiny tot. She wasn't even captain when I was there, but she was a tiny tot when I was there, and she, grew into her position as the captain, and she did an excellent job. But yeah, they would do the parades, and so I saw these little girls one day, and they were dressed up in their red
Mhm.
suits and the cape. I was like, "Oh, this is cute," and I could not see them dance because they were behind us,
Mhm.
but I see them perform at other events that were
Around.
around campus, like performed at the basketball games and things like that. And I was like, like they can really, really dance for them to be, this young,
Mm.
and My sister-in-law actually was a part of the dance company that she had down there. She was teaching different classes and hip hop classes and things like that. And so they would perform at one of the auditoriums on the Jackson State campus, and that's how I was able to see some of the other sides of Dancin Dolls.
Okay.
And so one day it was just just a conversation that we had, and I started working with them. She invited me to the church gym where they would practice at, and
Oh, this is
I
before
would
they had
come.
the studio and all of that stuff.
Oh yeah, this was way before the studio and everything, because there was no, there was a church gym that we would meet. Had a huge parking lot where we would march out there in that parking lot, and we also would be at that the park, Grove Park, where they would run their laps and practice under um, the pavilions at the park too. I was a part of some of that stuff too. So yes, I started working with
Put
them.
a pause right there? So dance coaches, it's humble beginnings. You have to start somewhere. You cannot think that just because you started it 6 months ago, you have to have this huge, beautiful studio. You got to have three and all of these different cities and all this kind of stuff. You can start small, humble beginnings. You have to start somewhere. And so this is a firsthand account because a lot of people may not know that. It started like that. These coaches that are practicing in the parking lots and at the park and at the church, they needed to hear that. So I'm so glad that you said that. And so with all of that, with you seeing it from the humble beginnings, it transitioning into multiple studios, what are some of your tips for an award-winning team? What are some of the things that coaches can say, all right, I need to do this, and this to make sure that the girls have the choreography or whatever it is? What type of just advice can you give to coaches about having an award-winning dance team?
First, I'm going to say patience. Sometimes we think that since we got these numbers and this big team, we need to go ahead and get out there on the floor and show the people that we got numbers. It's not, because you can have three girls and outdance everybody in the competition. So you got to make sure that you have patience with your team and you understand their level of dance, because you can push a dancer so far to the point where she gives up because she feels as though she can't get it right. So you got to make sure that you meet them at the level that they are and then push them slightly and work your way up to that difficult level. Because sometimes when you are able to have a safe and clean routine, that can get you further than you doing all these stunts and tricks that you cannot complete and it looks sloppy. Also, making sure that you have a level of discipline when it comes to your teaching and the way you run your studio or your classes and things like that. Because when you let that one parent in or get away with certain things, it's going to have that, like, well, you let so and so do it, so why can't I do it? Or you let this. You have to make sure that you maintain a level of discipline when it comes to you setting your rules and your regulations of how you're going to run your team. And you okay with, if somebody is not okay with your rules and they want to leave, you got to allow that. You got to be able to say, okay, you may be free to do whatever you want to do over there, but over here we have rules. We have protocols that we go by to make sure that we stay on point. And also training. Training comes with, when you have training, you can grow.
Training.
Yeah.
Right.
Sometimes we think training can be mimicking something that we see off of YouTube or mimicking something that we see offline, and mimicking and actually having the training to do it is two totally different visions for a judge.
Say that, baby.
So, right. So you can tell the difference with someone who is mimicking versus someone who's flowing with it and actually trained to do it and it looks effortless.
Because those turns are not hopping around. Those, like, it's just that's mimic. Like, you've seen somebody do some turns and I was like, I can do that just to spin around. No, there's actual proper body placement that goes into those turns in order for it to be right. And so I'm glad that you said that, because as a judge, you see a lot of different teams, styles, sizes of teams. What are some of the things that you look for at the judges table when you're sitting at a competition and teams are in front of you and they done practice and they got their hair done and they got their outfits and they looking cute, and then the dance goes?
Right.
What do you, I know what I look for when I sit at the judges table. So what are some of the things you look for when you're at the judges table?
My main thing I look for is cohesion. You can tell a team that practices together. You can tell who makes up the choreography, or I should not be able to tell that. I say that. And there's some teams that one person sticks out like a sore thumb, and the rest of the people that's behind them looking real lost, or they not as placed as this person in the front, and things like that. Cohesion, when they all dance alike, they all have the same placements, they're all moving and it's flowing, that lets me know that they have discipline, they are practicing together, they're practicing the same choreography, and it's repetition. They know it, it's something like second nature. I also look at, well, for my higher caliber teams, and when I say high caliber, I mean teams that have been in the game for a minute and they should know, or they know a lot more than some of the younger teams. I look for mistakes with my higher caliber aged teams, because at a certain point, you're not looking for pointed toes because that's something that's to be expected. You're not looking for energy levels because that is something to be expected. And if are not there, then it's like, you are considered a high caliber team. Why are you lacking in these areas? This is something I have to write on this paper because of your status in this dance world and your caliber. So I'm looking for mistakes mostly when it comes to those higher aged and higher caliber teams. Interval placements. I do look for toes. I do look for fun. I do look for creativity. I do look for a certain type of arrogance on the floor.
Ooh.
It's a different arrogance that you have as a person, as an individual, when you're in your everyday life, versus a person who is actually performing. I need to see the arrogant performer versus the regular person. Sometimes we have a difficult time with showing up when it comes to performing, but you can tell a difference between a person who's enjoying their performance and they're confident and they know they're it, versus someone who is trying to be it and it not necessarily be there in their performance.
Right.
So yeah, I look for a lot of things.
Yeah, but I'm glad you said that, because you said so much. So I want to go back just a little bit to when you talked about judging higher caliber teams when they are competing against lower caliber teams, because a lot of times how they get on Facebook and they like, oh, they showing favorites and it's because of their name, and in reality you're almost judging the higher caliber team on a different scale than them because of your level of expectation of them. And they assume because they won that it's because of the name of the team. And in reality, when you have a qualified judge like Mrs. Kidd here, she's looking for the real stuff. She's not looking for the tricks, because sometimes the tricks are it's so much. There's no dance. And it's like, do you want for a dance competition? This is not the gymnastics league. This is not the trick league. And it's literally like backflip after toe touch, after walkover, after flip, after tumble. And it's like, where's the routine? And then you have, out of an 8 count or a 16 count, you have 4 counts of actual dance movement. And it's not even executed properly. you wonder
Right.
why your score is what it is. So I'm so glad that you said that, because they automatically assume and bash the judges like we are the
Right.
reason why they didn't win, because it was only 6 of them and it was 40 of them. No, it's not what
Yeah.
it is.
And
Thank
see, a lot of times the stunts and things that are going on and routines, it's too much. It tires the girls quicker than, actual choreography. Like I'm a choreographer.
you.
Yes, we do include stunts, but I want to see dance versus stunts. And there is a way for you to evenly maneuver some of those stunts in there to show your level of difficulty. But when you are stunt, 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 and then you come and then you thrust at the thrusting, and the scraping of the ground with the thrust and then the
Oh, this
flapping.
is the one I hate when they
Oh,
I hate
oh,
to see
it's like,
sister Rose doing that.
right. Then their knees going in and out like this. Now, some teams have, created signatures, in which signatures are okay. But when it comes to that's all you have and this is all you're trying to get hype from the crowd, to
Mhm.
me, you're cheating because you're not really showing what you have. You're really doing that to get the crowd hype, in which some competitions are based on your entourage and how well you can hype up a crowd versus what you're actually putting out there on the floor. And sometimes I think that is unfair to some of the teams who are actually really putting in the choreography and giving a great show.
Mhm.
Um, so yeah, I think, it has gotten to a point where if you stunt, 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 you're the bomb and you're on top and you're number one. In actuality, that's not true.
Right.
Um, I would love to see more teams truly incorporate more choreography because honestly, that pulls from the sponsor, the director, and um, um, the teacher. That's who that really pulls from,
Right.
and that shows your students are your showcase. They're
Right.
showcasing what you can give them and what you can do.
Right.
So further lets me know sometimes some of these directors and these sponsors, they may don't have that dance background. And not to say that you have to have a dance background, but at least put somebody in there who does.
Right.
You
Right.
know,
And that's one
these
of my next question was ways that dance teachers can improve their dancers as far as skills and choreography. What are some ways that they can improve themselves in order to be able to give to their dancers?
I would encourage them to take dance classes themselves.
Mm.
They understand being a student and understand learning because sometimes if you're not in that realm and you're trying to direct and you fussing and you yelling and you doing all this, you don't understand it from their perspective because you hadn't been in those shoes.
Mm.
So sometimes I'm not saying that you have to, always be in class and always be a student, but you need to really test out being a student and understanding where a student is in class. Um, so that you know how it feels to be or even to guide somebody when
Right.
you are in. Um, Also hire a choreographer. Yes, we cost money, and if you want your team to look a certain way or have that certain pop or whatever, put a little money into your team. You know,
And you'll get the
it's so
results that you
you'll get the results you want. Yeah. Um, it's okay to reach out to a choreographer for it. And a lot of teams do it. And that's okay, but make sure that you're putting your money in good hands and they're giving you a great product too. Because
want.
I wouldn't want you to pay all this money and the choreographer can't even 1-2 step.
And that does happen
So
too.
yeah. So just make sure that the choreographer that you are hiring is credible, that you've seen their work, they give you a vision of your work. Like I've done choreography for teams and I say, you can look at some of my choreography on YouTube or even my page, it's been around. So I've helped some teams with choreography as well. I have done training with other teams as well. So, you know, I'm more so in the realm of helping and showing,
Yeah.
and if they help, I don't mind, but at the same time, I want them to actually put in the money for the choreographer if they don't have one, so they get the outcome that they want, and
Mhm.
they don't, break the girls down when they don't get the scores or don't get the placements and things because, sometimes when a team is, not placing or they're third place, that can have a burn on them,
Mhm.
because it's like really tried hard. I really did. Um, in which it's okay. I've seen third place, I've seen second place, first, and grand champion. It's good to taste all those levels to
Right.
let you know where you want to be and what I'm saying, where you at and where you want to be. You know what I'm saying? It's okay. But yeah, I do think a lot of the sponsors and directors, or even the choreographers of the team, need to understand being in a dancer spot and actually, making sure that you are teaching at the level of your girls, pushing them a little bit,
Mhm.
but don't over choreograph the girls because they'll get bored and they'll get frustrated and they'll want to quit versus them wanting to be hungry to be on the team.
Okay. Those are some amazing tips. I feel like you have covered so many grounds with just getting the girls prepared, getting the coaches prepared, because you have to be able, like you say, to be a student in order to be a teacher. A lot of times we get arrogant and we get inside of our own heads. Like, I don't need to take no class. When in reality, you go to the class and you can bring a lot of that stuff.
With you. Mm-hmm.
In most dance classes, at the end of the class, they're going to teach you choreography anyway. Take it. Like, it's the easiest thing to do. So if somebody wanted to book you, let them know how they can find you. Let them know, just where they can reach out to you, connect with you, and just, give them some information about how they can book you.
What is it? Set it off oh 04 is my IG. I take DMs from IG, but I do serious inquiries only. I have had so many people to try to, connect with me, want some training for their teams, but they never follow through. But yeah, that's how people can reach out to me in training. Yeah, I come out and train. Um,
Amazing.
mhm.
And and just going into the business side of it, and then I'm gonna go ahead and let you go. Going into the business side of it, you spend money on a choreographer or someone to train your team, like Mrs. Kidd, like Jenear. And when your team gets out there in front of people, they look amazing. And now you have other people that want to be a part of that. So you are investing your money into your marketing, basically, because as your girls are out there and they're looking good and they're dancing, they got this fire choreography, they're winning trophies, you're posting it, that becomes advertisement. That becomes other people wanting to be a part of your team. This is promo. These are things that you can do without having to be outside passing out flyers, without posting a flyer on Facebook and nobody's responding to it. These are the things that you can do back here on the back office that allows you to have some type of, productivity, and it gives your girls confidence. It gives your girls excitement. They're excited about class. Okay, who's this new person that's coming? Okay, we tired, we woe out, but remember that time she came, or remember that time he came, and it exposes them to different people. I know that when you go to college and you're a part of these things, you grow up and you become this dancer, and then you have a baby and she becomes a dancer.
Mm. Yeah.
Real quick, because our Zoom is about 2 minutes. What is it
Oh.
like we might have to get off and come back on, but just kind of talk real quick about being a dance teacher mom.
It can have its ups and downs, I must say, because you know the capability and like if you're at home with coach, so I can see if you're actually practicing. I can see if you actually supposed to know, you know. And in practice, when she first came, I said, "Look, you can't call me mommy. You gotta call me coach, you know, because I have to make sure that I keep the playing field level. Like she in there with everybody else. There's no special treatments. There's no nothing. If I say you cut, you cut. Your burpees, you got burpees. You know, because I'm not playing. I expect more out of my child because no, you know, you at home with coach.
Right.
But at the there is a time where it's like I cut coach off and I'm mommy. We try not to bring, you know, none of that home. But of course, if I see her not doing what she's supposed to do in class, I'm gonna get on to you when I get home because I can see it. You know, I know what you. It can have its rough patches because it's like, oh, you're just so hard on me. You don't treat me like everybody else. Da, 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 da. And I was, you know, but no, if I'm gonna be coach, I'm gonna be coach, and you in there with everybody else. Yes, it's no different. There is no. Mm-mm.